Just to kick off then, Tasha, you know, obviously this is another step into the unknown, another history-making challenge.
Yeah. You hear me?
Yeah, go on, yeah.
Yeah, it's I think Liverpool's first. Definitely not the country's first, I don't think. But yeah, it's another piece of history that I want to put down. It's 4 titles in a row. It's been a bit of a slow, frustrating start to the year, but you know, I'll be happy to get it underway and out and competing and being active again, getting back in the ring.
I was just going to ask, because obviously you said about being a bit slow and frustrating. Obviously, we spoke last year and you said, you know, the kind of key to being a happy fighter would be an active fight. And obviously, you know, you had that run of kind of 3 world title fights in 10 months, but obviously at least 6 months pretty much have passed since you since your last fought, when you go back in the ring in July. How frustrating has it been that you've been out the ring for so long? Because obviously, you know, after what you achieved in November, having a break, you must want to get straight back at it as soon as you could.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a learning curve for me. I'm not unused to being out the ring. You know, I had a long time out before I fought Harper, a long time out before Katie, and a long time in between Namas and Bergholt. But you know, I believe the key for me last year was you know, being fight ready all the time, and taking the opportunities when they came. And unfortunately, this year I must have used all my luck last year, because this year just hasn't been as lucky, and I haven't got as many opportunities. I think we spent so long trying to get the Clarissa fight done, and it didn't happen. Then that meant I was off the March show, and then I was supposed to be out in April on Josh Taylor and Catterall. That obviously got cancelled. Then it was coming to March, and they were like, well, oh no, sorry, there was nothing in March. Then April was the Taylor Catterall, and then it was May, and then nothing happened in May, and they were like, "Oh, wait for the big show in June." I waited for the big show in June, and then obviously, through no fault of anyone, that you know, it was delayed another 2 weeks. So now we're in July. Last time I fought was November. Yeah, it's been a long, frustrating old road, and I kept on keeping myself busy, keeping myself active. But like I say, it's just one of them things as a professional boxer. That's just what happens, and you've just got to roll with it. I had a good run of fortune last year, like I say, and it hasn't been the case this year, but it is what it is.
Obviously, you know, in terms that you said about Clarissa, obviously, you know, Joe was quite open and said that they made you an offer, they pushed for it, but it was nowhere near good enough. How close did that fight get to being made? Did it hit the final kind of negotiations, or was it kind of, they were always worlds apart, what they were offering you to fight and what you and Joe, you know, deemed what you should be rightly getting?
Yeah, it wasn't massively out of what we actually wanted. It was literally just was money that let it down. It is what it is. Like, she's sick of talking about it, I'm sick of talking about it. So, and now I've gone back down, so it's definitely off now.
Obviously, you know, it's off now, but you know, if you to win, you know, a week on Saturday, would that fight be back in the focus? Maybe want to try and do before the year is out. Is it, you know, not the end in terms of you possibly fighting Clarissa this year?
Yeah, I think everything's a possibility. You've just got to take what comes up to the table and make a decision that's best for you. As a whole. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what opportunity present themselves. I think there's definitely a scope to moving down further. There's definitely scope to, you know, other champions in the division. We've tried to make the McCaskill fight on a number of occasions, and it, you know, she's chose the best route for her. So I don't, you know, there's nothing I can do for that. I choose the best decision for me, and that's what she's done. So there's no hard feelings. It's just business, I suppose, and that's kind of the business of sport that can be frustrating for fans sometimes because they don't see it.
Obviously, you know, in terms of, you know, your next fight now against Kandi, what was the thought process behind dropping back down? You know, was that something that you and Joe discussed? You know, once you won last year, was that in the thinking, or was it kind of something that comes to the mind once, you know, you knew you was going to fight Clarissa?
Yeah, I think obviously I would have stayed if I would have fought for Clarissa, and it would have been 154. I don't think I've ever weighed in above 149 with clothes on. So, you know, I'm not a big 154. I'm never really a 154 fighter. There's just that opportunities that I believe that could win kept presenting themselves. So that's why I stayed there. Now the kind of opportunities are closed. I've already said about it. There's not going to be a Terry Harper fight. So the only option was to go back down because there was no one else there to fight. So yeah, it made sense. And obviously, I think, you know, McCaskill, we tried to get the deal with McCaskill, like I said. That didn't work out. And then the fight with McCaskill and Habazan fell through. Habazan went and fought Terry. That moved her out the rankings. I think Kandi Wyatt before that was number 4 anyway. I think the Turk had fought up at 152, who was number 3. Obviously, Habazan was number 2, McCaskill was number 1, and you know they both didn't fight. McCaskill vacated, Habazan moved up. The Turk hasn't fought for over a year, so it made sense that I wanted to come back down to put me into Kandi as 1 and 2.
Obviously, you know, there's a title on the line, and that must make it that little bit more sweeter that you could become, you know, a four-time world champion. Obviously, it'll cap what's, you know, probably been a remarkable kind of 18 months for you, wouldn't it, if you were to get the victory a week on Saturday?
Yeah. I mean, like I say, every time I get in the ring, the goal is to win. The titles are a bonus, but the goal is to win and do it well. And yeah, like I say, 4 belts, 4 titles on the spin. I think it's it's been a great month. I can think the only other person that's had a better 12 months is Chantal Cameron.
Obviously, just one more for me. I believe you attended the Merseyside Former Box Associations in the SD to celebrate 50 years. What was that like?
Yeah. It was good. It was good to be around all the old schoolers and some people I grew up watching, like Hodgkinson. Conti was a little bit before my time, but you know, I've been in many events where Conti, and he was actually there when I won the British Boxing Border Control Fighter of the Year. So it was nice to catch up with them and see all some of the old fighters. Some of them are local to me as well. And yeah, it's just a great organisation and charity what they do. You know, sometimes, you know, boxing as a community, we are a very small, limited, close-knit community, and to see that, you know, the helping widows of ex-professional boxers and, you know, fixing houses of ex-professional boxers, because, you know, the money and stuff isn't, it's only that like 1% of boxers that ever make it to that Ricky Hatton and AJ and whoever else money. All of us, everyone else kind of finishes and has to go back to work and hasn't secured that, you know, that money that can sustain you throughout life. So to see them giving back and like I say, doing that work for local boxers in our community, I think you know, and seeing myself and JJ was there as well. So I think it was just great to be a part of and to see them and to hear the stories mostly.
Cheers, thank you very much, Natasha.
Hey Natasha, where do you rank Kandi in terms of the opponents you've faced in your career so far?
There isn't that much on it. Obviously, I know the results with Kirsty Babington. I've seen the fights against McCaskill and I've seen it against the Southpaw, but there isn't that much to actually view on it. Everyone's dangerous. I've overlooked people before in Obanov and it didn't work out well. So I'll never do that again. And like I'm not gonna make out like she's some monster or she's some decay or she's someone that she's not. But I think everyone given, you know, a free shot or whatever is dangerous. And like I said, I've done that before and I wouldn't do that again.
At this stage of your career, I mean, become a 2-weight world champion after being involved in 3 world title fights on the spin probably looked a long way away like 2 years ago. But towards sort of this stage of your career, what other goals do you have left before you retire?
I think there's some big names out there, some names that I need to get revenge on, some names that just are new to the hat, and yeah, like I say, just let's try and make the big fights. And it's not a secret that I'm closer to the end of my career than the start. So like, let's make the big fights happen.
By revenge, are you referring to Katie Taylor specifically?
Could be.
And then just lastly, you yet to have like that sort of breakout fight in America. Obviously, you know, Sky and ESPN work together. So do you think like a fight like Michaela Mayer could be a possibility maybe in America?
Yeah, there's names like that keep popping up, and there's obviously it's hard because there's fights that the fans want to see, there's fights that Sky want to make a big deal of and put on, and there's fights that's easier for boxer to make, and then there's fights that make sense for me, and somewhere along the line we've all got to like agree on someone. So yeah, there's loads of names that get put in the hat. There's loads of fights out there, but then like I had to kind of wait my turn and bring something to the table. So I think others will have to do the same.
Good luck next week. Cheers.
Thank you.
Natasha, you mentioned moving down there and the possibilities of other fights in lower divisions. Would you feel comfortable moving back down to lightweight?
Lightweight, yeah. I've made no secret of saying I'd never make super feather again. Lightweight, yeah, possibility. Maybe 140, like 135 to 154 is seems to be where I can juggle.
And the opportunities down there as well. Obviously, you're going for your second weight world championship, but moving further down, there's possibilities to become 3-4 weight world champions.
There's always possibilities, and we've just got to make sure everyone's happy and can make them happen.
Katie Taylor was mentioned there, but obviously she was defeated a few weeks back by Chantel Cameron. Do you think that makes that fight more possible or less possible?
Definitely. I think obviously there's I presume there'll be something of a rematch clause between them, whether that's the option that they take, because I presume there was one with Serrano as well, and that didn't happen. But you know, whether that's the option they'll take, whether that's they'll take somebody else and then go back to the drawing board with Chantel, we never know. But you know, they're the fights I'm looking for.
Cheers, Tasha. Thank you.
Hey, Tasha. With regards to this fight, how exactly did it come about, and how much notice or preparation have you had to actually get ready for it?
I think it's been the worst kept secret in boxing. I think everyone knew for ages ago that who was fighting. We've had a couple of weeks to prepare. If I'm honest, your internet connection is unstable. That's what it's saying. Oh, sorry, it's gone. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I think everyone's known for quite some time that's who I'm going to fight. So she's had a lot of time to prepare. I've had a lot of time to prepare. You know, she's coming to spoil the party, and I'm coming to make sure that she doesn't. So yeah, we've known for a little while, and yeah, you just got to prepare your best you can.
Okay, and with regards to this, so it's a IBF world title shot, and I saw there's some kind of clause that they have whereby a challenger for theirs can move up, but they can't move down, and if they do, they'll end up losing their title at the weight that they were competing at. Or funnily enough, that didn't actually happen with Clarissa Shields when she was at 160 and moved down to 154. Have they said anything to you about having to vacate your IBF title at 154?
I think, judging from the rankings that they've already took me out, I think maybe that was something I had to agree to do that. I always was on the understanding that I had 10 days. If you won the belt, you had 10 days to decide which one you wanted to keep. How true that is, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, like I say, I'm 154 probably isn't where I want to be anymore. It is probably 147 and lower.
So, providing that you sort of come through on the first, gain that new title, become a 2-weight world champ, is the goal then to maybe try and get that unification with McCaskill or even Sandy Ryan, or is it to maybe try and move down again and become a 3-weight world champ next?
Whatever presents itself. I think Ryan and McCaskill have made a deal to do that fight. Maybe we fight the winner of that fight. Maybe we go down. It just, like I say, whatever presents itself and whatever makes sense for me, I'll do.
Sorry,
Okay,
guys, just
and
we're getting on for 20 minutes here, so we'll take 2 more questions and then we're going to wrap it.
okay, sure. Right, so obviously not withstanding and not looking away from Kandi Wyatt, we never overlook any opponents, but outside of her, she's standing in your way now. Who do you think would be your toughest test in and around sort of the weights that we're in, from 147 down to maybe 140?
I think Chantal Cameron at the minute is probably the best female fighter we've got. She's defeated 2 undisputed champions in McCaskill and in Katie Taylor. So for me, she's the highest ranking female that we have here, potentially in the world, pound for pound. So yeah, I think she's definitely number 1. Katie Taylor's number 2.
Thank you for your time, Natasha. We're all rooting for you on the first.